The 2018 Nissan X Trail is available in no less than 10 different variants. That's right, 10. Why make things simple, huh? But that all just makes it harder to argue the case for this TL all-wheel drive diesel, which also happens to be the most expensive. There's plenty to like about the X Trail range though, from its sharp starting price of $28,490 for the two-wheel drive petrol ST in 5-seat guys, right up to various 5- and 7-seat options, and finally this range-topping TL diesel, which starts from $44,790. If you need a 7-seat SUV in the medium segment, your options are somewhat limited, and that makes the X Trail's case a little bit stronger. The exterior styling, well, that's what you expect from Nissan, inoffensive, but the cabin can't quite match it with the segment leaders. Now, you might think that infotainment isn't that important, but it's a serious battleground in 2017. And that's why pricing and specification is so important. Both diesel model grades are all-wheel drive and 5-seat only, with the TS starting from $35,990. Standard equipment highlights for this range-topping TL model include the 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel engine, which generates 130 kilowatts and 380 newton meters, while using a claimed 6 litres per 100 kilometres on the combined cycle. There's an around view 360-degree camera system with moving object detection, satellite navigation, and the option of black or tan leather accented interior trim with heated front and outer rear seats. Strangely, the TL misses out on adaptive cruise control, available in the petrol TI for example, instead making do with non-adaptive cruise. It does get stop-start tech, which the petrol models lack. Additionally, the TL also features driver assistance systems like blind spot monitoring and lane departure warning, which complements the autonomous emergency braking and forward collision warning already standard across the range. TI and TL variants also get pedestrian detection for the AEB system. Well, standard equipment is decent then, but what does it actually feel like in here inside the cabin? The good news is that, typical of Nissan, it's well put together, there's good build quality, and it feels like it's a well executed cabin. Nice leather trim on the seats, good fit and finish. Where it does lack is infotainment. This is a really basic system, basic graphics. It just doesn't feel as up to date as you'd expect. You switch over to the sat-nav, it's not as modern as you'd like to see, and that kind of lets the interior down a little bit. However, one of the pluses of the X Trail is the amount of room that you get. The second row, and then through into the luggage space, this being the 5-seater, has heaps of room. Plenty of room for adults in the second row, plenty of room for your bags in the luggage area. So, although it's not up with the segment leaders, this is still a quality, well-executed cabin. What's the X Trail diesel like to drive? Pretty much like the exterior styling really. It's inoffensive, it doesn't really do anything particularly wrong. The diesel engine is not as refined as some of the competitors. It makes a bit of noise, especially at startup, but then once you're moving, that goes away. What is interesting and worth noting is the fuel economy, or lack thereof. This is evened out to about 10 litres per 100, which for a diesel in the medium SUV segment is pretty thirsty. I'd like to see that closer to 7, low 8s. That'd make a little bit more sense. The CVT is a strange one for me. I don't love CVTs, but with this engine, it actually works really well. It doesn't slur, doesn't make the engine feel like it's revving too hard, so there's nothing that's particularly strange or weird about the CVT. Other major inputs like the steering and the brakes are perfect. They're exactly what you want. The steering's quite light around town, brakes are good to use, the pedal never feels too soft. I think the ride is really good, it's comfortable. There's a bit of road noise that comes in off the tyres, but that's par for the course these days with a lot of modern tyres. The ride itself though I think is really good, which is crucial if you're going to load the SUV up with the family and hit the road and go for a long road trip. I think the overall message is that while the X Trail doesn't do anything particularly exciting, in this medium SUV segment, it's not really about that. You want comfort and quality, and you want something that's user-friendly, and the X Trail really does that. So while it's not going to get your pulse racing, it doesn't really do anything wrong either. So it's fair to say that the Nissan X Trail doesn't get your pulse racing the way more expensive sports-oriented SUVs can, but in the medium SUV segment that doesn't really matter either, and it's hard to argue the X Trail's chops as a reliable and comfortable family hauler. While I love the tractability of the diesel engine, I really like the way it performs. I think the message out of this test is that the X Trail makes more sense as a two-wheel drive petrol model or one of the other various 7-seat options.